I built a fleet of 14 cars, and now I'm selling 9 of them. Here's the problem. When you are building a business and that business starts to make some money and you decide you want to go out and start buying all the toys, all the cool cars that you wanted when you were younger, you develop a problem. At least I did. I'm a little bit of a car junkie. You could say I really, really, really love cars. And because of that, I have this very strong desire to experience a lot of different cars that are oriented towards enthusiasts. You've got BMW M cars, you've got luxury SUVs, you've got all different kind of quirky and unique and interesting cars that have existed over time. But the problem is, if you just start buying all of those, it can become a major problem for your business that actually started earning you the money to afford those cars in the first place. And this is a story of what happened to me and what I'm doing about it. About 8 months ago, I decided to build this building. It is called the Driven Compound, and I built it in half of what used to be Driven Auto Care's Fremont location. This was our first location, and at the time, I thought that a 6,000 square foot shop that could realistically host 7 or 8 technicians in it was what I wanted for my business. What I learned after acquiring shops 2 and 3 and 4 is that what works better for Driven Auto Care is a smaller shop. And so what did I do? I cut Driven Auto Care Fremont in half and I built the Driven Compound. This space was intended to be used for branding and shooting content and hosting events, which we do plenty of. But what it also did is it gave me the opportunity to store a lot of cars, as you can see here. Because of that, I had a little money and I decided that I was going to go out and start acquiring a lot of cars because I wanted to experience a bunch of different cars in my life. And so that, over the course of time, got me up to a 14 car personal fleet. And that is far too many. I became employed by my car collection. Beyond Driven Auto Care and We Are Driven and my old consulting work that I still do a little bit of, I was actually creating a new job as a collection manager for Arun's personal vehicle fleet. This was a problem because I didn't really have the time to allocate to doing this. I always found that there was something that I could address on one of these cars. But because of that, I was distracting myself intentionally and taking time away from working on my business to do stuff with cars, basically play around. In playing around, what did that really look like? It looked like going for drives when I didn't really need to. It looked like fixing issues that were barely issues, but the TPMS light is on the dash and I need to go out and get new sensors to make that light go away. I need to fix that small oil leak. I need to fix that little issue. I need to go out and repaint the entire car. This created a whole new job for me. I didn't have time for that job. In addition, I felt guilty. I like driving my cars. These things are tools, but more than tools, they're also here to help build memories. They're helpful for getting you from point A to point B, but they're also helpful for creating your life story. And your cars accompany you, at least in my experience, through so much of important events in your life. And for a car enthusiast, those cars really punctuate and emphasize and become a huge component of those events in your life. I remember what car I was driving in so many different significant life events that I've had because those cars were a significant component of those events to me, even if it had nothing to do with the car. That car mattered to me because it was a part of creating that memory. But when you get to 14 cars and you're spending all this time worrying about whether you're driving them enough, that stress and the obligation of feeling you need to drive cars really deadens the experience. It makes it significantly worse when you feel like you're driving a car because you have to and you haven't driven it enough lately. And the problem that I ran into was I liked some cars that I had more than others. I had four BMW M3s. I had the best four generations because those were the ones I wanted: an E36, an E46, an E92, and an F80. The way I was able to afford those cars was they were all projects that I thought I could save. I went through and fixed a lot of issues that the E36 had. I went through and I repainted and rebuilt this E46 with 228,000 miles on it. I took a double salvage title E92 M3 and I daily drove it a lot, and I demodified a lot of the issues that the previous owner had wired in and built into this car to make it way not something I wanted. And then I took a salvage title F80 M3 and had to fix $15,000 worth of little sensors and little wiring issues here and there just to get that car to a position where there weren't warning lights on the dash. And this was expensive, and it didn't really increase the value of those cars at all. And I found myself only wanting to drive one of those cars, the E92. So what did I end up doing? I went out and bought one E92 M3 that was the perfect spec that I wanted, and I'm selling 9 of my cars. I'm keeping the 5 that really do have a unique purpose, where I know that I can justify keeping them and they will get used on a regular basis. I have my Murcielago, don't worry, that's not going anywhere. I have this new E92 M3. I have this truck right here, this work truck for Driven Auto Care. I have our family vehicle, which is a Ford Explorer, and I have my wife's Tesla Model 3. This decision to sell 9 cars has created a different realization that I want to warn you about in case you decide that you want to follow me down this addictive, junky path of buying and selling cheap project cars. They get expensive. When you're in a position like I am and you start making a bit of money and you want to go out and get the cool cars that you always wanted, then you think you're going to keep them because they're the ones you always wanted. And so you start investing in them. You buy the new brake pads and rotors that the E46 M3 needs, and you make sure to get the perfect ones that are going to match your level of aggressive driving. You go out and replace all of the comfort access sensors on your F80 M3 because you think you're going to daily this thing, and you want to make sure you can leave your keys in your pocket at all times when you're locking and unlocking the doors. You want to make big investments into repainting and rebuilding a Passat W8 6-speed because it's a car you envisioned you would always have. A lot of these cars, admittedly, because I own Driven Auto Care, are expenses with these cars that I didn't actually pay all of the money that I recorded that I paid. It's a paper transaction, if you will. Like, I have lent Driven Auto Care a lot of money over the years, and because of that, Driven Auto Care owes me some things. And so whenever I need fixes done on my cars, I don't pay my bill. But I do pay full retail for every bill that I have. It's just forgiven off of that total loan value that I have given Driven Auto Care. But what that means is I've kind of blank checkbooked a lot of these cars to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. The problem is these cars aren't worth tens of thousands of dollars more than when I bought them. I may have bought them right. I bought very high mileage, salvage title project cars that had problems, and I lowballed people and they took my offers. But at the end of the day, I'm barely going to make any profit on the purchase price versus the sale price of these cars when I let go of them. I wanted to think that I was going to keep them and make them really, really good. But if I'm going to do that and I want to flip through a lot of cars to experience all these different cars that I want in my life, the real key is buying good examples that don't need a lot and then finding an easy way to resell it on the back end. I do have a case study of this, which was actually one of the M3s, which was the easiest one to buy and sell. I bought my E36 M3 on Cars and Bids for $14,000, and I sold it 6 months later, having driven it 600 miles and doing very little in terms of repairs on it, for 20 grand. That was the win. And that was the lesson that I really learned from all this, is that if I buy cars like that, even if I don't drive them very much, but I want to get these sort of experiences under my belt, that if I buy clean cars that I don't intend to keep forever, I can resell them and not make them into a full-time job. I'm not building a collection. I'm not developing a sunk cost fallacy. and I can get out and continue to satisfy my cravings, if you will, but also not kill myself both in terms of time and money, and continue focusing on building the business that affords me these cars. So in the end, I can collect or not and have that freedom to get in and out of cars with no regard for the finances of it. That's really the idea at the end of the day. There's a lot of cheap cars that I want, but now's not the time to go spend or really like throw away 10 grand, if it will. That's what I learned from this experience is basically it's time to focus on Driven Auto Care. It's time to focus on We Are Driven. I need to continue building these businesses, and eventually this kind of issue won't be a problem for me anymore. Maybe I will have the time to actually build a collection and be like Jay Leno, have a team of people around, or maybe not. Maybe that's not for me. Hamilton thinks I might relapse, but we'll see. That's all I got for today. Hope you learned something from this video, and stay driven.